The Butcher of Highway 21. The first disappearances. America's highways have always been the scene of disturbing stories, lonely travelers, cheap motels, trucks that tirelessly roam the night. But in the early 1990s, a stretch of Highway 21 in Texas became synonymous with fear. What began as isolated disappearances soon revealed a chilling pattern. Young women who vanished without a trace, and in some cases reappeared brutally murdered. It was the beginning of the story of the man who would become known as the Butcher of Highway 21. Highway 21 stretched for more than 200 kilometers between small towns in central Texas. It was a little-traveled route, used primarily by truckers, travelers looking for shortcuts, and low-income families. Along the sides of the highway were motels with flashing neon signs, lonely gas stations open all night, vast vacant lots and wooded areas where anyone could disappear without a trace. For many, it was just a secondary route. For others, it would soon become a nightmare. The first disappearance. In the summer of 1990, 19-year-old Laura Jenkins left home heading toward Austin. She was hitchhiking, a common practice at the time among low-income young people. She never reached her destination. Her mother reported her missing that same night. Local police, however, downplayed the situation. She probably left on her own, they said. Weeks later, the case remained silent. It was as if Laura had vanished on the highway. More similar cases. A year later, in 1991, 23-year-old Angela Torres disappeared after working a night shift at a coffee shop. Her car was found empty on the side of Highway 21, the keys still in the ignition and her purse on the seat. That same year, at least 3 more cases of women who never made it home were reported. At first, authorities treated each case separately. But for the families, the coincidences were all too obvious. All the victims were young women, last seen near the same road. The first victim found in 1992, a hunter found human remains in a vacant lot a few kilometers off Highway 21. Forensic analysis confirmed that they were Angela Torres, who had disappeared the previous year. The body showed signs of extreme violence, multiple wounds and dismemberment. The brutality of the crime horrified even the most experienced investigators. The local press began to speculate. Was this a serial killer? Fear spreads. With Angela's discovery, the community panicked. Families forbade their daughters from traveling alone. Motels in the area began to lose customers. The highway, once a simple shortcut, became a feared place. Local newspapers began to talk about the 21st Street Killer. Although it still didn't have a definitive name, terror had already set in. Pressure on the police. The victims' families organized to demand answers. They marched with signs in front of the police station. Our daughters didn't leave. Someone took them. Media pressure forced the state police to intervene. A special investigation group was formed and began connecting the cases. Similar disappearances, same area, same circumstances. The pattern was becoming clear. New disappearances. Despite their efforts, the cases didn't stop. In 1992, 20-year-old Jessica Morales disappeared while returning from a party. In 1993, it was 25-year-old Kelly Brown's turn, last seen at a gas station on 21st Street. That same year, another woman, Mariah Evans, was reported missing under identical circumstances. The highway was becoming a death trap. The nickname, the Highway 21 Butcher. The discovery of another body in 1993, with signs of dismemberment, led the press to dub the killer the Highway 21 Butcher. The name was etched in everyone's mind. From that moment on, each disappearance was attributed to the same person. What began as isolated disappearances became a pattern of terror. Young women disappeared one after another, and some bodies revealed scenes of unspeakable violence. Highway 21 was no longer just a road. It was now the territory of a monster that hunted in the darkness. Fear spread, and the community knew the killer was still on the loose. Terror spreads, In the mid-1990s, Highway 21 in Texas went from being a forgotten stretch of highway to a nightmare. What began as a few isolated disappearances morphed into a string of crimes that sparked fear across the state. Families demanded answers. Newspapers were already calling it the region's darkest case, and the killer, invisible in the night, continued to hunt without being caught. The pattern of victims. Between 1992 and 1994, at least 11 women disappeared in the same area. They all shared a similar profile. Young, between 18 and 30 years old. They worked precarious jobs with night shifts. Many were traveling alone or hitchhiking, last seen at gas stations, bus stops, or motels near the highway. The modus operandi seemed clear. The killer approached them in vulnerable places, made them disappear, and then, in some cases, abandoned their bodies in isolated areas. The bodies found of the 11 missing women, 5 bodies were found at different times. 1. Angela Torres, 23 years old, found in 1992 in a vacant lot with brutal injuries. 2. Jessica Morales, 20 years old, found in 1993 near a river, bound hand and foot. 3. Kelly Brown, 25 years old, discovered in 1993 in a clandestine garbage dump. 4. Mariah Evans, 19 years old, found in 1994 with signs of strangulation. 5. Cynthia Lee, 28 years old, found in 1994 inside a plastic bag meters from the road. The violence was so extreme that the press was quick to dub the perpetrator the Highway 21 Butcher. Media coverage, newscasts showed images of the deserted highway with headlines like, "The killer lurks on Highway 21, 11 women and no arrests. Why can't the police stop him?" Fear spread. Entire families avoided traveling on the highway. Motels closed early, and gas stations became filled with security cameras. Highway 21 was no longer a shortcut. It was a corridor of terror. Pressure on the police. Local police were overwhelmed. A state task force with FBI agents was created to investigate the case. Officers reviewed each disappearance, interviewed hundreds of witnesses, and combed the area with helicopters, but the killer always seemed one step ahead. At a press conference, an investigator said, "We're dealing with someone who knows the road well, someone who moves as if it were his territory." Fear in the community. The psychological impact was enormous. Women avoided going out alone. Parents personally picked up their daughters from work or school. Business owners along the highway reported a loss of customers. The nickname Butcher further fueled the feeling that a monster was on the loose. Disturbing testimonies. Some survivors provided key clues. A young woman recounted that a truck driver tried to force her into his vehicle in 1993, but she managed to escape by running to a gas station. Another recounted that a man with tattoos on his arms persistently offered her a ride, but she turned him down after noticing his disturbing gaze. Although it could not be confirmed, many began to suspect that the killer was a truck driver who used the highway as his hunting ground. The investigators' theories experts put forward several hypotheses. 1. A single serial killer. The nickname The Butcher reinforced this theory. 2. Multiple perpetrators. Given the numerous disappearances, some investigators believed they could be separate crimes linked only by location. 3. A mobile killer. The profile of a truck driver fit perfectly, someone who could be on the road at any time and disappear without a trace. The public wanted a face, a name, but they didn't have one yet. The nickname solidifies. In 1994, after the discovery of 2 more bodies, newspaper headlines no longer referred to the unknown killer. The name was established, the Butcher of Highway 21. The nickname not only terrified the public, it also attracted national attention. Television programs dedicated entire segments to the case, turning it into one of the most talked about crime mysteries in the country. Between 1992 and 1994, Highway 21 went from a forgotten byway to a corridor of horror. 11 missing women, bodies found in brutal conditions, and an invisible killer who seemed to know every corner of the area. The fear was no longer just local. All of Texas knew there was a predator on the loose. The suspect under scrutiny. By 1994, Highway 21 in Texas was already a corridor of fear. With 11 missing women and 5 bodies found in brutal conditions, the pressure on authorities was enormous. The press demanded results. Families cried for justice, and the community lived in terror. Then, a mistake by the killer changed the course of the investigation. The failed attack. In October 1994, a 21-year-old woman named Melissa Carter was waiting for a ride near a gas station on the highway. A truck driver stopped and offered her a ride. Melissa hesitated but ended up accepting. During the drive, the driver began behaving strangely. He asked disturbing questions. "Does your family know where you are? Is anyone expecting you tonight?" Noticing the threatening tone, Melissa asked to get out. The truck driver refused and took a detour onto a dark road. Desperate, Melissa waited for the truck to slow down and jumped out of the cab. She hurt her leg, but managed to run to a gas station, where she called for help. The man fled, but Melissa managed to describe him. Harold denies everything. When he was arrested, Harold Burns was defiant. "I don't know what you're talking about. I found that material on the highway. I didn't kill anyone." He denied all the accusations, but the physical evidence contradicted him. The police knew they had the right man. Shock in the community news of his arrest spread quickly. The face of the alleged Highway 21 butcher was plastered all over the news. Neighbors described him as a strange, solitary and ill-tempered man. Some remembered hearing women screaming from his house in the past, but never imagined what was really happening. The victims' families felt initial relief, but also anger. Why did it take so many years to arrest him? How many lives could have been saved if they had acted sooner? The evidence mounts. As the investigation progressed, the evidence against Harold became overwhelming. DNA from several victims was found in his truck. Fingerprints matched the missing women's belongings. Melissa Carter, the survivor, identified him as the man who tried to kidnap her. Everything pointed in the same direction. Harold Burns was the Highway 21 butcher. The man who for years had sown terror on the highway finally had a name and a face. Harold Harry Burns, a trucker with a violent past, who had used the darkness of Highway 21 as his hunting ground. But the most chilling was yet to come, the confession.